Tommy asked me to come down here. I've spoken to a lot of SBA functions, 8A functions here locally. We write a lot of federal contractors really all over the country. So very familiar with the SBA program. And I think more than anything, I'd be happy to talk to anyone afterwards if they have any specific questions, or I can answer questions. Now, sometimes when you come to these types of presentations or formats, some of the questions that somebody would like to ask are a little sensitive because sometimes they deal with financial information, and so sometimes they're reluctant to answer that question or ask that question in front of a large group. What we do is we work with contractors really and try to pair them up with a surety company that's going to manage and support their surety needs and help them grow their business. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I haven't answered any questions. I can talk specifics, or I'm not sure what you want me to talk about.
Do y'all provide any training to kind of help to educate small business owners?
I mean, essentially what we do, we're going to sit down with you and we're going to say, okay, we need to get some various background and some financial information about your business. We're going to be able to refer you to CPAs. We're going to be able to refer you to insurance people. We're going to be able to refer you to bankers. We're kind of like the quarterback of your internal circle of how to run your business. We will get background and financial information on your business. We'll sit down with you and try to understand what you're trying to do, where you're going to work, and then we're going to put together a package and we're going to submit that to one of the 20 or so surety companies we represent. Now, if you're just getting started, the SBA Guarantee Program is a pretty good program to get involved with. You can get a lot more leverage based on your balance sheet because of the SBA Guarantee. Essentially the SBA is taking 85% of the risk, or 70% depending on which program it is. So the surety company is willing to stretch out a little bit farther because the SBA is guaranteeing that risk if something fails. The purpose of the program is to kind of get you going, and then once you develop your balance sheet, kind of wean you away from the SBA. Depends on how fast you grow your balance sheet. But ideally, they'd like you to move away from the SBA over time. And that allows the surety company a chance to develop a relationship with you from day one, and 2, 3, 4 years into the program, sometimes a lot sooner than that, you would go ahead and probably stay with that same surety company just based on the situation. Depends on what it is. And so it's basically a credit facility. I mean, the surety companies provide a guarantee to your company, well, actually a guarantee to the government in the situation of the VA, that if you fail, the surety company is going to come in and do two things. They're going to perform, they're going to find somebody else to perform your contract, and they're going to, number two, make sure everyone's paid. Those two things. They're guaranteed to do those two things, performance and payment. And so, the SBA program is a great program. There's been a lot of first bonds written through the SBA program. And so, does anyone have any questions? Are there any contractors here? I know Tom is. Okay. Yeah, and I think, I work with contractors. Now, some of these other service providers may require bonds, I'm not sure. But on the construction side, you will definitely need a surety program. Yes, sir.
My only comment on the surety program, that's not just here, it's everywhere. It's not really fair, especially to minority contractors. And the reason it's not is because it's subjective, it's not objective. And a case in point, the banks are the same way. I go to the bank for a loan, I want to borrow $10,000, I got to have $100,000 negative. And for the majority of people, you don't have to have that much to borrow $10,000. Same thing with surety bonds, it's all subjective. I go to surety bond, and I want to get a bond for $300,000. But hell, I got to be worth more than $300,000 to get a $300,000.
Well, that's not necessarily. That's not necessarily
I've been
true.
there. I'm not going to argue with you about it because it has happened to us.
Well, you may be dealing with an agent who's doesn't know what they're doing.
So in other words, they need to come to you.
I've been to more than one agency is what I'm trying to tell you.
Well, here's the thing.
It's not fair.
Okay. Well,
It's
that's
not objective. If it was objective, if you said, hey, if your net worth is $500,000, if you all had a sheet just like a surety, actuary of an insurance company, say, if your net worth is $500,000, you can get bonded for this. If you had that, but you don't. I go in there, I'm a minority, the guy's gonna look at me and say, well, you probably know what the hell you're doing, so I'm gonna let you get a bond for $100,000.
Well, I think
that's the way it is.
Well, I think what I would suggest, and what I think you have to do is, you can't start out at $500,000. you have to start out at 50, okay? And then build your way up, go from 50 to 100 to 200, 300, 500, and you have to build your way up over a period of time. You know, for a surety company to jump out there on a $500,000 risk for somebody they don't know, you know, that's a lot. And so they're probably going to want to see, you know, what's your, I mean, if you're starting from zero, okay, the SBA program could probably write you a bond for $100,000, okay? With that guarantee and some basic experience, you know, they could probably write you a bond for 100. Now, I mean, if you gotta remember, surety is a credit facility, okay? If you have, when they start doing credit checks and personal credit reports and D&Bs and stuff like that, I mean, if that turns up to where you've had bankruptcies and tax liens and things like that, there's going to be a little bit more detailed underwriting. They're going to say, well, what happened here or what happened? They're not saying, you know, and no one's not saying that's your case. But I mean, you know, I think people get frustrated with surety because there's a lot of information required up front. Okay, the surety company's asking for a lot, but once you get through that initial process of, okay, we're good to go. Okay, here's the accounting we have to have. Here's the balance sheet. Here's the financial statement. You know, who are your, you know, who's going to run your business? What's your game plan? Once you go through that, once you get set up, then you just got to grow. And so you can't, you know, I guess what I'm trying to say is you can't go from, and I hear this a lot. It's, you know, you have somebody who's pretty gung-ho, and they've worked for another company, they've managed $500,000 jobs, and now they go out on their own, but they don't really have the capital to support a $500,000. You know, well, you know, you have to start somewhere. Start at 50, okay? Do the 50 and then build your way up. I mean, I've written a lot of businesses, a lot of first bonds for guys that started business out of the house. And so, I mean, you know, you got to start at the bottom and work your way up. That's what I'd say. Yes, sir.
Hey, what's your name again?
Ray Hundley.
Hey, Ray, I'm Bill Jenkins from Headquarters SBA.
Okay.
And, you know, you said something there, and we're going to take you up on that. And it almost, well, you almost said, and what I'd like you here to say, hey, guy, come on in and talk.
I'll be happy. Listen.
Let's build a relationship.
I'm here to, you know, first of all, promote surety bonds. And, I mean, I've written the first bond for a lot of companies. I've written the first bond for a lot of 8A companies that are now have equities in excess of $4 million. You know, but they didn't get there. You know, these are people that work hard every day.
Start small and build up.
They started with $25,000.
Yeah.
And we wrote, we wrote bonds for them. I mean, our first bond was maybe $75,000. And now, I mean, that same company, you know, we just wrote, I mean, just the other day I wrote a bond for $10 million for them.
And that's because you know them, right?
Well, that's because
you built a relationship.
We built a relationship with them, and it's just, you know, it's do as you say, you know, do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
And it's just like the federal government. I mean, sometimes, you know, the federal government, VA included, it's a tough place to do business. I mean, you know, it's really a zero. There's zero tolerance. I mean, you go out there on a job, you do a great job, they're going to pat you on the back and say, good job. But if you make any mistake, they're going to say, oh, wait a second. You know, you didn't do that, and they're going to talk and tell everybody else. Now, the vice versa of that is if you go out there and do a good job, they're going to say, wow, this guy came out here, he got it done, then he's going to start chatting, and he's going to start telling everybody else. Next thing you know, people are going to be calling you. And so, I mean, the federal government, it's a great place to, you know, like I work with probably 30 to 40 federal contractors, and it's the best place for the construction dollar right now.
Yeah, now see, you were being nice to the federal government. Maybe it's because me and Tommy's sitting here. But let me tell you. No, hold on. I'm coming to your rescue. Let me tell you, you mess up on a government contract, we will terminate you for default.
Right.
And then for you large corporations that don't live up to your subcontracting plans, there's this clause in there called liquidatable damages. We will take money out of your pocket.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. You know, you have to start out small, and you know, you have to really listen, and you have to listen to, you know, the guys that are around you. And if, you know, if your insurance person is telling you one thing, and your bond guy's telling you one thing, and your banker's telling you one thing, and your CPA's telling you one thing, you know, chances are, you know, that's probably going to happen, because usually you're going to get advice from those four guys. And you know, like I said, you write a lot of federal contractors, and there's certain places it's very tough to work. and I'm not going to mention any names.
Oh,
but
you can mention them.
There are places.
Yeah.
There are places where it's extremely difficult to work. And if you came to me and you were my client and said, "Hey, we're taking a job over here at XYZ Air Force Base," I would say, "Wow, really?"
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've had 4 contractors work there, and none of them made money. You know, you might want to take that contingency and quadruple it, because you'll need it, because when you show up on the job site, they will eat you alive. And
Y'all better listen to that.
Yeah, and so, you know, it's things like that. But getting down to what you said, I mean, it's a relationship business, and if you can perform at 50, then you perform at 150 or 250. They can build you up pretty quickly. You know, the federal government's really where you want to be right now. State and local construction, tough, very tough right now.